So even white folks who are against white supremacy are very comfortable in a white supremacist society because that's all that they know. And they have been taught to fear equality, to fear a life where they don't have their privilege, the privilege they don't want to acknowledge, but the privilege that they're terrified of losing should we get our rights. Very interesting, right? Cognitive dissonance. That's a whole like, you believe two things that don't fucking make sense to believe, but you have to just hold them in this space. It doesn't make any fucking sense, right? So like, you don't have any privilege, but you're terrified that if I had the same rights that you have, that somehow you're getting screwed in the process. Why is that, right? So they're comfortable with it. So the idea, for another example would be, having Kamala Harris, a Black woman, as the leader of the United States. That's foreign to them. A Black woman running shit, a Black woman, they're so used to disrespecting Black women. Like, I know. Ask me how I know, right? Especially a Black woman in a position of power and authority. They would rather elect this fucking Nazi than a Black woman because they're more comfortable with the fucking Nazi. A Nazi, rapist, racist has almost always been in the White House. Like, let's be real about this shit. Like, this is not like shocking. Like our founding fathers were fucking Nazi rapists. Like most of them owned slaves. And you could do whatever you want to your enslaved people. And they fucking did. They did, right? So this is not the first time we've had a racist rapist in the White House. It won't be the last. And that's what's familiar to white people. So even like the fucking, again, the white people who are trying to do the work, white supremacy is what's familiar to them. White men being in charge of what's familiar to them. You pull out your wallet, you look at all their fucking money. It's all these dead fucking racist white men. That's what's familiar to them. They're not used to, I'll give you another example. Like when people want to show diversity on TV, it will be like, 5 white people, 1 Black person, 1 Asian person, 1 Latina person, right? Right? 3 people of color, they're all of different ethnicities, and then like 5 fucking white people, right? It'll be like, oh, diversity, right? That's like, already white people like extending themselves like oh my god, like that. So you could actually be in the same room with a Black person, a Mexican person, and an Asian person at the same time. You're so evolved. Wow, you can be nice to them and not call them racial slurs. Look at you. But they wouldn't be comfortable. Like true diversity would be like Black person, Mexican person, Asian person, Middle Eastern person, and 1 white person. It wouldn't be 5 fucking white, but that's what they're used to. It has to always be majority white. Everything has to be majority white. Maybe they'll make a little bit of space, right? 1 seat for each ethnic group, but the majority of these seats are going to be reserved for white people, and that's what's comfortable for them. And they feel some type of way, and they start showing their true colors when they're in spaces that don't center them. They're not used to not being centered. Here's something I was thinking about because I'm going to be working. I'll be working somewhere. I'm not going to tell you where I'm working, but it's a place where I might be distributing Band-Aids. And what I wanted to do is just make all the Band-Aids Black so that they can have the experience of putting on a fucking Band-Aid that doesn't match their skin tone. I didn't know as a kid that the Band-Aid was supposed to match my skin tone. I didn't make that because it didn't. So I just thought, oh, the Band-Aid's just its color. But I didn't understand that they were made in the skin tone of white people, and that for white people, it's supposed to hide the fact that you got cut, right? Like, because it always fucking was glaring on my skin. I didn't realize that. So I would love for white kids to have that experience. Like, or when white people give me cards, or like they give me things that have white people on them. I don't want any fucking thing that has white people on them. I mean, I'm representing Shrek can be on my sweatshirt because he's green. But like, if there was another sweatshirt that was Powerpuff Girls. I love Powerpuff Girls, but I don't wear shit with white people on it. Like, fuck that shit. I don't represent whiteness. So like, I've received cards, right, as a Black person with white people on them. But have white people ever received cards with Black people on them? Like, they've never had that experience. So yeah, I lost my train of thought. Well, white folks they don't understand. They don't get it. Oh, white supremacist culture. Yeah, they're so used to being centered. They're centered in everything. Like they don't like it when, it's a show and there's a Black lead, right? Instead of the white person leading, it's a black person leading. We don't like it when there's a halftime show when you don't see any white dancers, you know? Like they're so comfortable in a white supremacist environment because that's all they fucking know. And even the ones that have the best intentions, quote unquote, I'm not sure I know any of them, but like even the ones that think that they're doing the anti-racist work are still very comfortable in a racist environment. And they're still going to like have some type of reaction when you truly decenter their comfort, right? Like they think they're ready, but they're not ready because they've never had that experience. So a good example would be when a white person is the only white person in the room or the only white person in a venue. It's not a true example because they still hold all the power and they can still like tap into white power at any time and, you know, fucking have the place bulldozed, right? Like, so it's not a true representation, but it's a little bit where you can get that feeling of being isolated. But for people like me, that's every day at work. When I was at school, that was every day at school, right? Being the fucking only and being under this white supremacist system, being fed all these lies and all this bullshit. So that's problematic. And here's the thing. White people still have to do the work. And the work will never be done. It will never be done. You will die still doing the work. But what you can do is you can cause less harm. White supremacy is harmful. And you being a white supremacist is harmful. And you harm Black and Indigenous people in ways that you can't even see, you can't even imagine. Like you don't have, you're blind to it because you live in your delusion of white people being supreme and right. You're in the white people delusion. You still have to do the work. And what you can do is learn to be less harmful, right? The know better, do better. So it's a spectrum, right? It's a spectrum, like unconscious, totally fucking harmful racist to like consciously racist and less harmful. And you're trying to move along the fucking spectrum. And I wish you luck.